Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Peach State Payments, Recover, Chiro HD, Softwave, Cool Blue BA, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Script AI, Chiro Moguls, The Chiro Speaking Company, Pure Chiro Notes, 5-Star Forge, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting the sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 664 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Ginni Gross. And if you want to hear our conversation about BioEmotional technique, stay tuned for the full episode.
This is great for me. So I'm just honored to be here. So thank you.
Well, that's a good introduction there. This is the Chiro Hustle podcast, episode 664. And as you heard, Dr. Ginni Gross is just excited to be here with us today. I'm thrilled about this. We're going to talk about some stuff that I'm just not, it's not my wheelhouse, it's hers. One of the things is BioEmotional, which is a word that's new to me, and sympathetic dominance, which I hope to learn a whole lot about. And I hope that the listeners and viewers of the show today learns a whole lot more about the sympathetic dominance and how this interacts with the subconscious mind and the nervous system, and how her work helps liberate people with these types of things. So I'm really, really excited to talk to Dr. Ginni today about these topics, but we'll talk about her career. We'll talk about where the direction of this profession is headed in her scope, where she sees it going. And we'll close out with a miracle story. But before we jump into episode 664, I let people know why we do what we do. Well, first things first is freedom of speech. We know what it's like to be censored and shadow banned and traffic throttled. If you guys are watching this and you love what we do here, please share the show. We need more people to see the message of chiropractic from the voice of chiropractors. We also believe in medical freedom and family health freedom. They're not the same thing, but if you are curious about these topics, find a chiropractor and get to know them and ask them these questions. And then we philosophically, I think that a lot of times we shouldn't have to do this segment, but they're taking philosophy out of the colleges. There's only a couple that stand true to philosophy in 2024. So we do protect the sacred trust. If you don't know what that is, it's B.J. Palmer's last words. Go to our show notes and you'll be able to click on a little link there and see what the sacred trust is and why we mentioned that. We also believe in subluxation. They're taking these words out of the colleges too, which is like creating this like crazy scene of like future chiropractors that don't understand philosophy. So if you have a student in your life and they need to hear this, please share the show with them, because we need to keep subluxation in chiropractic. And then we also believe in innate intelligence and universal intelligence and educated intelligence. These are real things. Like, we believe that when man or woman, the physical, gets adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual. And I know it sounds woo-woo to a lot of people, but when people start to get clear of subluxation, their body reconnects. And then the educated intelligence comes into play. So with all that, there is a deep philosophy in this beautiful profession of chiropractic. And I always make sure I intro with that stuff, because somebody out there needs to hear those words. But with that, this is episode 664 of the Chiro Hustle podcast, and I have Dr. Ginni on with me today. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's so much appreciation for hosting a show like this, because there's a lot of people out there that just need a platform to talk about what they love. And I've noticed that chiropractors absolutely love talking about chiropractic. So how long have you been doing chiropractic work?
Well, believe it or not, I'm really quite the late bloomer. I'm going into my 8th year as a professional chiropractor.
So how did you decide to transition from whatever you were doing before to 8 years into practice?
Well, I think it's kind of an interesting story. I met a chiropractor, and got adjusted for the first time. I came from a very medically based family. So, I mean, my mom used to take me to the doctor for a cold. I didn't know my body could recover from a cold by itself until I was, an adult. And so I was having these like sinus problems, and I went to I missed a class at school, and I was catching up with one of my professors, and he said, you really need to go see my chiropractor. And I said, for a sinus problem, because I had the same idea in my mind. Our chiropractors, isn't that neck and back? And I don't have back pain. I don't have neck pain. And so he started telling me this story about how his wife used to have just absolutely debilitating migraine headaches. And he said, I'm not kidding you. I think this guy could really help you. So I was like, okay. And I went to see him, and he adjusted me and, just suggested I do a few supplements. And I was like, I am like in with this, no more antibiotics, no more side effects. And I'm feeling way better than I ever did doing that. So I got pretty excited about that, and got married shortly after that, had, a couple of kids, and my son was born with spina bifida. So we had new kinds of challenges in our lives. And I wanted to go to school, but when I look at that point, this is going to date me, but this was the 80s. And they didn't have special schedules then. So with my two kids, one of them being disabled, it was like 28 credit hours, per trimester or quarter or whatever. And I thought, I don't think I can do that. So I looked into it something like 3 times before my daughter grew up, and she wanted to be a pediatrician. And so we showed her all different kinds of things. And so she decided to be a pediatric chiropractor. And she went to Palmer. And when she was in school, she called me and she said, you know what, Mom, I know this is your gig. I absolutely know this is your gig. It's your time to do this. So I actually started school while she was in school. So she's been a chiro longer than I have.
Yeah. See, that's why I do this thing.
So it's fun because, most people think she's a chiropractor because I was one first, but not true.
Such a cool story. And
Yeah.
I don't know that honestly, that's why interviewing people is such an art form, because you never know where somebody got into this profession. A lot of times I'll talk to people and they're like, yeah, something happened and this happened and the next thing. And I'm like, but never did I know one guy down in Mexico that became a chiropractor, and like his dad was like in his 50s and he went back to chiropractic school. So that's the reverse side of that. But I think it's pretty cool. So your daughter went to Palmer Davenport.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah. She went to Palmer Davenport, and I was living in Chicago at the time. So I started out in National. I did less than a year there and transferred to Life, and Life in Marietta or Atlanta. And our son had a problem. He was living here in North Carolina, and he had a problem. And so I transferred to Sherman in Spartanburg. So that's where I graduated from. But I got a lot of good education all along the way. And some of it was I learned what I liked and didn't like, and that I really didn't feel like I could live without philosophy. Like when I was at National, they're very mechanical and medical minded there. And I thought, I know my philosophy. I'm just going to, get in here and get out because it's close to home. And, but I don't know. I felt like my soul was dying. I needed to be with my fellow philosophy people. Yeah.
So where did you pick up philosophy along the journey? At Life and at Sherman? Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah. And that's where I would tell students to look, is Life and Sherman. I think they're the strongest really tick schools.
Yeah,
As of late.
a lot of things have shifted over the past decade when it comes to chiropractic education. I grew up in Davenport, Iowa. So,
Oh, did you?
oh yeah. So when I was a kid, I thought that there were no other colleges in the world that did chiropractic. I thought like everybody that became a chiropractor came to Davenport. Little did I know until I got into my 30s that I actually got into this profession 16 years ago, and I started to find out that there were other chiropractic schools. And I'm like, pinch myself.
Yay.
But I was just like, don't all chiropractors go to Palmer?
Well, it is the fountainhead, right? I mean, we've all been taught that.
But as I've gotten deeper into the profession, I realized that getting fundamental education with philosophy, it's almost having like a parallel education. You have to go and get your like chiropractic, what they need you to do while you're in school, but you have to parallel that with philosophy. Mm-hmm. And you have to plug into mentors, and you have to go and join the clubs, and you have to go to the assemblies and listen to the people that they bring in and all the great speakers. And you got to plug in. You got to learn how to adjust. And it's not just passing boards. It's not just passing tests. It's not just getting your numbers in clinic through whatever hoop you have to jump through. It's actually learning the philosophy, the science, and the art of being a chiropractor. But we're going from a 3-dimensional type of program, I believe, into very much a 1-dimensional form of program, and that's pass tests and
boards.
Yeah, and I think that that's really hurting the profession. So really, I believe that Chiro Hustle brings philosophy back to campuses. So that's why
that's really awesome. I do have to say that sometimes I thought that some of the sciences and all like that were not really going to serve me that well, but actually they do. So I just learned to pick the those parts out. I'm really grateful for my chiropractic education and all of the experiences that I had. It was eye-opening to be at a school like National and to realize, is this a place for me or is it not the place for me? Because obviously it was the place for certain people. It just wasn't for me. And then I really found my home at Life. I had just a fabulous network of other students and chiropractors that I knew in the area, and same with Sherman. Sherman was great. So I'm really grateful for that education, for everything that I learned from it.
Yeah, and I think that once again, over the past decade, a lot of things have shifted within the chiropractic profession, specifically with education. And a lot of times they would say, don't go where it's regional for you. Go to a school of philosophy. So, a lot of kids.
That's good advice.
a lot of kids that grow up in like Minnesota, they'll go to the college in Minnesota, or some will be on the West Coast and they'll go to the one in Oregon, and some will be in, the Midwest and they'll go to the one in Missouri. And I don't even name them because I don't even know if they even need any attention put on them. But I do recommend all students to go to Sherman, Life, or Life West, which is at least schools that I know that are doing their best to keep and retain philosophy and not go the medical route. And I'm not saying the medical route's wrong, but if you want to go that route, then go be an MD, go be a PT. Don't change a school that's doing real deal chiropractic and start down the road of just making people referrers for the medical profession. I think that there needs to be that distinction of chiropractic should be chiropractic and anything else is something else. And I think it's great that you had the experience of going to both Life and to Sherman. But
definitely,
I have my stance on why I believe the things that I do. And I think that we need to create more great chiropractors that know how to adjust and that have philosophy. And maybe I'm on the far end of the spectrum. I know that there's a lot of people that are trying to like just create medipractors. So I think it's important that people know the distinction of what a philosophical chiropractor is. And I think it's great that you understand that too. You have something I opened up with called BioEmotional, and you're writing a book on it. I am clueless to what BioEmotional means from your scope. Could you maybe explain that to us? And then we'll talk about how that leads into the sympathetic dominance.
Sure. So what I'm talking about here, I actually call it BioEmotional integration. And so the idea of it is that we tend to store our lives through our nervous system. So everything that happens in our lives makes an imprint on our nervous system. And sometimes things that are traumatic and that we didn't really work our way all the way through with is like stagnant energy that's within our systems. So it's kind of like there's gunk there with, we need to keep that innate energy flowing through our systems, right? And when I talk about that, I'm just talking about the really simple, basic life energy, the thing that makes our heart beat without us having to tell it to do so, the thing that heals the wound, a cut on our hand. I mean, after all, we don't tell the cells to line up and do things in this order, right? They do it because they know to do it. And the body is so very intelligent. But one of the things that it does to help us survive is that it can help us put things on the back burner, but then it talks to us and says, okay, hey, you got something on your back burner here. Let's pay attention. So to me, a lot of our symptoms are speaking to us because there's something we need to pay attention to. So in those ways, what is it? In what ways do we need to? Is that from a physical standpoint? Is it from a chemical standpoint? Is it from an emotional, mental standpoint? Or maybe all three? So we need to, so what I do is I try to help people hone in on that and become aware. We want them to be more body aware. We want them to be more aware of what they're feeling. We want them to be more aware of what they're putting in their bodies or surrounding themselves with, right? And so the bioemotional part of it helps actually liberate the stagnant energy that still exists from some kind of trauma. And it's like we integrate it. We don't just clear it and get rid of it and it moves on. It's actually making friends with all of those things. I mean, after all, if we didn't know sadness, we wouldn't know joy, right? If we didn't know anger, we wouldn't know what calmness is. So we don't know short if we don't know tall. We have to have these polarities in our life. And to me, that's like we came here as humans to have the full spectrum of life. And so what we're doing is, I think sometimes we've just learned to judge that anger or sadness or something that we find less comfortable is like bad in some way, and we need to put it on the back burner. But actually, that's nothing more than our judgment and what we may have learned in the past. So what if we could be friends with that and just let it pass through for the moment and go on and just live this life in the full spectrum? So that's what my intention is with everything I've learned.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Peach State Payments, Recover, Chiro HD, Softwave, Cool Blue BA, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Script AI, Chiro Moguls, The Chiro Speaking Company, Pure Chiro Notes, 5-Star Forge, Kytronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting the sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle. Well, I think it's really, it's liberating, like you said, when you can start piecing it together, the physical, the chemical, the emotional, and you can start to see where things are disconnected. And you can start to understand that most of the disconnect, with not all cases, but some cases, it's going to be locked up in their subconscious, and it's going to be locked up in their emotional state.
Yes.
And there's not a lot of people that really know how to clear that. So I think it's really great that you are starting to, I guess, focus more on that for a full experience for people instead of just being, you said that you do network also, which is a very energetic field work. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're working with the resonance of people's energy, and it's not a high velocity osseous adjustment. It's more of how can I get the body to adjust itself. So
Correct.
I think it's really cool that you're learning how to take the emotional state within the energetic field and have an effect on people, which I think a lot of people really need.
Yeah. And I mean, I think all of us have some of that. I mean, it's just hard to grow up and have life, right? Without some of these things happening. So it's really good tools to have. I mean, network teaches your body how to respond better to stress in a more efficient way for you. So a lot of that's already built in. It's just that some people really need a little more specific. I guess I'll just say to be specific about what's going on. And from that, they can work their way through it. They can, I mean, maybe some of them go to counselors, maybe some of them just have, but so many people have these just clarity. And, it can be very cathartic at the same time. And when that path gets cleared, then they see what's in front of them. They see the more realistic self, I guess is what I want to say. Yeah.
So back to the question sets that I sent over. One of the things I love is marketing. I love selling chiropractic. I love growing practices. That's like the thing that I've been really excited about. So you're telling me off camera about your marketing strategies. Maybe share with people about what you're doing and how it's effective for your practice growth.
Okay. Well, I've been coaching for the last couple of years with the Remarkable Practice. And one of the things that I love about the Remarkable Practice is that they give you systems. They give you lots of systems. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel about how that can look for you. I mean, you can tweak their system any way you want to, but they give you such a great, great background to go with that. And so what we do, we look at our marketing as external, internal, and digital. So external is when we go out and say, do screenings of some sort. Or we, or some kind of vendoring, that kind of thing. Internal are the workshops that we hold. So we hold at least 2 workshops a month. Sometimes we have speakers in. So it's mostly my associate and I who do those kinds of things. Network is accompanied by something we call somato-respiratory integration, SRI. And that really helps you work through things even more, and it supports care. So we have that kind of thing, and we invite people to invite family, friends, and so we meet a lot of people through things like that. And then, of course, there's the social media side of things: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, that kind of thing, and the SEO on our website. And so we've been getting a lot more digital kind of people than we used to have. So we try to keep it at kind of 30, third. But actually the digital has been rising and rising.
Well, that's cool, because everybody does different things to grow a practice. And every time somebody listens to one of these episodes, they're going to pick up on some tips or some strategies or things that they can implement for their growth. And I love that question. I love the answer too. I do believe that what Stephen is doing over there with the Remarkable Practice is helping a lot of chiropractors build foundation and not have to reinvent the wheel, and lots of experience. So I think it's cool. I love what they're doing.
It's great growth. They have these mastermind groups. So you just, keep building and building and building on it. So it's been great for me, from my practice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So let's future pace this thing a little bit. Where do you see this profession headed? Let's talk just 5 years out. What do you see happening?
Well, I mean, as time goes on, I feel like, there was a time that Donnie Epstein was asked not to come back to a chiropractic college because he was too woo-woo with the network and all like that. And people are, I mean, energy and energy work and that kind of thing. It's not as woo-woo as it used to be. People are really realizing we're all made up of energy and and we realize that there's the energy of other people as well. I just like when you walk into a room, you can tell if two people have been fighting or not, right? There's just, and it's energy. It's not anything else. It's not something you can reach out and touch. It's energy. And so when we start to realize what we are and how we're affected by energy, then I think that people are just becoming a lot more open to that. And I think people are, I just hear more and more all the time in all kinds of circles where people don't even know I'm a chiropractor, talk about how they wish there was something else besides, drugs and surgery, because perhaps they don't feel like it's working, or there's just too much of it, that kind of thing. And so I think we're headed toward a lot more of this kind of work where, people want to live up to their potentials. A lot of people are feeling small, like they're small in this world, and they want to start living up to their potential. So what do I have to do in order to live that way? I see other people living that way. Why not me?
Yeah, I think a lot of chiropractic is being an energetic guide, and it is a very hands-on profession, and people definitely need somebody that has a healing space. Like you're talking about the energy, like so many people are drawn to chiropractic because they didn't know chiropractic does what it does.
And another thing I would say that people would like to have back in their life is being touched, human touch. And COVID really let us know how much we need that as human beings. And all chiropractors were, it's our hands.
Yeah, I have some friends that do mission trips down to Haiti and the Dominican Republic, and they call them the touch healers. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I think that people do need more physical.
I'm going to turn on my lamp here.
Yeah, I think that people do need more physical connection with each other.
Yes. And I think that people are really, after the whole COVID thing, I think people are just like, that they're very much in need of it, and they're realizing their need for it as well. And so when we can offer that, I just can't tell you how many times I put my hands on people and you can just feel them or hear them. They might even tell you, they just go, and they need that. They need to get out of the hustle bustle of what's in their heads, what's just swimming around in their heads all the time, and just to be in themselves and with themselves. And I feel like we're headed very much in that direction.
Yeah, we've done a great job of disconnecting people from themselves, and whether we like it or not, people are going to need a course, but they're going to need a course correction.
Yes.
And as I think about, what it's done also is the medical professionals, they're not so happy being in the big box medicine stores either. Like when you think about nurses and doctors, they're like, yeah, I've had my time over here. You guys kind of like put me in a position where I can't do what I'm supposed to do. And how do I go work with those chiropractors now? How do I go work out of this sector? And I've seen that a lot where people want to get integrated into chiropractic, and they've been heaved from the medical system, and they're like, how can we actually like practice medicine like ethically? And they're looking for solutions, and I think that it is a really interesting time where you find this medical dogma like leaving its people like on the sidelines that say, hey, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. What else can I do? And I see that a lot of people are coming into more trust with the chiropractic profession, especially the medical professionals, because chiropractors I've always stood alone. They're like, we don't do drugs, we don't do surgery, we do chiropractic. And that's why it always irks me when I talk about these chiropractic colleges that remove chiropractic from these schools and they're producing chiropractic medical providers, which we're proving that system is not working. And why would these people want to like drop down their weapons and come work with chiropractors? Because chiropractic is it's a standalone profession. Let's not water it down. And I love the fact that you understand that that's the direction that we're going. People want more interaction. They want more hugs. I think it's kind of cliche to say this, but they want more hugs, not more drugs.
Yeah. I like that. More hugs and more hugs, fewer drugs.
We need more hugs, less drugs.
Yes.
Let's close out with a miracle story. I think that we've talked a lot about practice growth. We talked a lot about what your vision is for the future, and we told your origin story. But maybe we can close people out and talk to them about something you've seen over your 8-year career that really stands out, that makes you like really excited to continue on and be the chiropractor that you are.
Okay. That, when you asked me that question, I had to really, really think about what story I wanted to tell, because this is something we experience in our office all the time. And it's actually part of our office vision, is that we will provide magical, miraculous experiences in our office. And so, yes, we do. We expect it and we see it. But I suppose the story, the most recent story, was a woman that I met at one of our external events, and she had MS. And I just did some quick little things with her, and she felt different. And so she got a consultation, came into the office, and started care. And during care, one of the things we needed to do was to address some of her emotional kinds of issues that she was having. But she was having amazing things start to happen to her just from getting adjusted, though, right? Just from getting adjusted. But then she hit kind of a plateau. And so at that point, I talked with her about the BioEmotional part of it, and talk about liberation. I mean, it was one of those things where she says, I just always thought I had to do A, B, and C. It never occurred to me that I didn't have to. And it's been incongruent with me for years, but the option was never anything that really occurred to her. And so as these choices started coming about, I mean, she started reading for an hour and a half at a time where she hadn't been. I mean, her mind didn't even work well enough that she could concentrate, reading. She had no feeling in her legs, was walking in with a walker. She graduated to a cane and started feeling things in her legs. And her physical therapist was telling her, boy, I don't know what you've been doing, but boy, are you like really different. I can't believe you can feel this and you can feel that, because we were connecting the brain with the body again. And she did an art piece for us, because she said it woke up the creative part of her. And she just, every time she was in, something cooler had happened. She could dress herself without having assistance. She could, get her art kind of thing out again. She started dressing more cute-like, because she was just into t-shirts and sweats, and it was just waking up this part of her. And she's this big blooming flower. And, I'm not saying she doesn't have MS at all anymore, but she has so much more freedom. She loves to fly fish. So she likes to get in those waders and get out in the streams. And I'll tell you what, when you have MS, that's kind of a challenging thing to do. Well, she's doing it. So anytime I feel like I can assist someone in getting what it is that they really want out of life, the joy that they truly desire in their lives, then I've done something really special for me. And that fills me up, and it makes me excited to move to the next person and the next person and the next person, because anybody who wants to do that and play, because it's all about playing, anybody who wants to do that and play, they are going to find the next level. They're going to find the next best version of themselves. And so that's really exciting to me. I get pretty excited about that.
I love it so much because you basically told me what innate intelligence is without telling me what innate intelligence is. You told me that once you clear subluxation, what happens. And I think that that's the true art form of chiropractic, is it's connecting, like I say in my intro, man or woman, the physical, to man or woman, the spiritual, and which creates educated intelligence. And it is very much a triune of the process. And really what you said is what most chiropractors talk about is, if I cut my finger, I don't have to look at it and tell it to heal. It's going to heal the way it's supposed to, because that's the way the body's supposed to operate. And we don't need anything extra in our bodies. We just simply need no interference. When that gets cleared, the body self-regulates and course corrects. And I think that that's the most beautiful thing when you're talking about this miracle case, is this lady gets her life back, but she also got her identity of connection back with herself. And I think that when you get that back, and it's been told to you that you're not going to heal, or it's been told to you that this is a life condition and you're never going to get better from it, what a death sentence.
I know, right?
Yeah. And I think it's hard on people when they get that like type of like simple words, but very, very simple engagement. But when somebody of authority, like a doctor, tells them that, that's like it's a throwaway code, like you have this, you have that. And how do you expect people to take care of themselves if they feel like there's no coming back from something? And I think it's really cool that you were able to make the connection with this person that had MS and has MS, and they're starting to come back to life little by little. But that's what chiropractic does. It gives people hope. And it gives people, cliche as it sounds, years to life and life to years. It adds in better quality of life. And that's a part where people like have to invest in themselves. Like you have to see this as something that you have to be an active participant in. Like you can't just say, hey, doctor, fix me. Like they have to show up, and they have to take time into what you're doing with them. And that's another big part about it is chiropractic isn't just the doctor being an amazing adjuster. It's the person that has to be participating in it too. And I guess in closing, the thing I really took away from that is you can be a mindful volume practice and make impact on people's lives. You don't have to see 600 a week to have the practice of your dreams. And you can still change people's lives and spend time with them. And like you said, let them play and let them find themselves in the process of the healing of chiropractic. So I really appreciate you being on with me today, Dr. Ginni. You're episode 664. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you'd like to close us out with?
No, just that, we next time, I would love to do this again. Let's dive into sympathetic dominance and talk about how this has affected us, and how I believe that aging it's a toxicity issue. And that where does that toxicity come from, and what has the process been along the way? And what's more, how can we change that? Because yes, we can. Again, we're hope dealers, aren't we? And so anyway, I'd love to really get into that topic and talk more about that too, because I think it's just so very important and has happened to us so much in our society. And we're in this process of moving in those more energetic directions and away from that, or at least breaking those patterns. And so I think it leaves hope for us as we get older. And it's so that we age in a graceful way. And I believe that some of us can be more impactful in our later years than we were in our younger years. So what about that? So
Well,
those are things I'm looking at.
I think a lot of people are asleep in their younger years and they're living inside of themselves and they don't realize that there's a big world outside of themselves. As you get older, you realize that there's a big world outside yourself too. And I think that it does take maturity to become more integrated with experience and sharing experience and giving people that touch. So I think it's really cool. And I do believe that sympathetic dominance is something we can definitely go a little bit deeper on. And I look forward to having you back on. So
I would too. This has been so fun. And I thank you so much for inviting me on your show.
Yeah. We get a chance to talk tick. I can, distinguish between the good and the bad. And we can talk a little bit about your beautiful career and how you're healing people. So I'm thankful for you jumping on with me today at 664. If people wanted to reach out to you and connect with you, where can we send them to?
www.drginni make that www.touchlightchiro, just the chiro.com. So that's www.touchlightchiro.
All right. So check out Dr. Ginni over at touchlightchiro.com. Once again, thanks for being our guest today. Have a wonderful night out there in the Charlotte area. And I just thank you for being our guest.
And thank you. I'm honored.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.